Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365. I'm Sarah Muirhead, and with me today is Greg Soulje, and we're going to talk weather and what's ahead for the holiday week that's next week, Thanksgiving week. So I'm sure you've got hopefully some good news for us. I know there's a lot of stuff flying around out there about maybe some storms, maybe some cold, maybe some snow.
Heaven forbid it might snow at the beginning part of December, rumor has it.
Right, exactly. So, Greg, let's put the slides up and have you give us your insight on this.
Okay, here we go on a midweek Wednesday update for folks out there and some of the headlines across the Corn Belt. Nice to have our pals Eric Lubenhausen and Brad Rippey over at the USDA's weather office getting these stats together for the weather guy here. And rainfall has been welcome, really favoring the southern Corn Belt the past couple of weeks. But yesterday, boy, pretty amazing feat. 1 to 2 inch hail coming down. Some of the severe storms that made their way out of St. Louis, Moultrie County in Illinois, that's south of Champaign, and around the Effingham, Charleston, Mattoon area, an inch and a half worth of rain, and those rains propagated to about Indianapolis on southward. So once again, those southern Corn Belt areas coming up with significant moisture. And it's areas to the north that still need moisture. Topsoil moisture levels are at 66% short and very short through Illinois, 57% through Missouri, 55% across Indiana. Still about a quarter of that corn crop out there. Evidently, there's been a little more in the way of disease pressure out and wetter conditions at the time of harvest getting going across the Nebraska and Cornhusker State region of the far western Corn Belt locale. So they're still playing a little catch up out there, and hopefully they'll get it done before the snows come a-flying out across the Plains states as we look forward towards probably Thanksgiving or a little bit beyond from there. Some spotty shower activity across the northern parts of the plains in the areas of the southern high plains sections of New Mexico and West Texas cotton country. Still, some of these winter wheat production areas there are some of them that are doing a little bit better with regard to crop condition of winter wheat fields, mainly in through Kansas, 56% there, good to excellent, but some issues again to the north and to the south of them. What else is new with those winter wheat fields, and still ongoing dryness and drought in select areas of the plain states. Otherwise, the rain system that came through the southern Corn Belt areas yesterday, beelining into the mid-Atlantic region, moving out to sea later on today. Topsoil moisture shortages continue on into the Delta region, the southeastern states, namely southern Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Panhandle. Remember, they were under that hot ridge during the summertime season, capped ridge or capped atmosphere, and basically no significant tropical systems. They all remain well out to sea, so no remnant moisture from that. So some issues there, and sometimes La Nina weather patterns in their early stages are not real favorable, at least early on in the winter season, to getting organized rainfall in that particular part of the country. Later in the season, yes, but in the next few weeks, probably not much to speak of. If you're looking for moisture, Flagstaff, Arizona, into the third of the gauge, and they've transitioned over to snow there. And I know that's Flagstaff, Arizona, but testimony that some of those southwestern reaches of the country back into the central and southern valleys of California have come up with significant rains, and there's another weather system or two making its way across that particular part of the country. So some additional drought relief. They had about a 6.5 to 7 inch rain over a 3 to 4 day time frame around Santa Barbara. So some of those central valleys are well watered down. There is the visible satellite picture from this morning, and you can see that in abundance of low cloudiness, low sun angle, this trapped inversion of moisture as well, generating that low stratosphere, drizzly stuff across a wide area of the northern and eastern plains, much of the Corn Belt locales as well. Well-defined circulation and swirl out over the southwestern states. Typically, with a lowering sun angle, the sun is closer to the equator, you get kind of a hazy look or a darker look, obviously, to the visible satellite pictures. If we plot some of the surface reports, those hash lines are all fog and drizzle areas from the upper Midwest and parts of the eastern Dakotas, a little rain mixed in down throughout much of the Corn Belt, with some moisture back across the valleys of California, with that big upper low, that circulation, that closed low, that L over the southwestern states. That's the next weather system that will make its way into the southern plains and across a good part of the southern and eastern Corn Belt over the next several days. So if you were on the shorter side of the rain gauge, more help coming. And if you're on the shorter side of the rain gauge still after that weather system, more help coming right before the Thanksgiving holiday. A boundary kind of separates as some very mild readings in the 70s over the southeastern states. It was some of that warmth that was across the Midwest on Saturday. And you can see a few radar returns of rain across the Dakotas, north of Minnesota, rain through the mid-Atlantic region, some shower activity through New Mexico and West Texas cotton, and the desert Southwest picking up some additional showers and thunderstorms. Flood watches remain in effect around the Phoenix area for that particular weather system. This afternoon, scattered showers and thunderstorms down through Texas, and a pretty quiet, albeit cloudy and misty, sprinkly, drizzly, foggy afternoon across the Midwest and parts of the Eastern Plains. Later on tonight, those two weather systems, one over Texas, one in through the southwestern states, will begin to make the move to the north and northeast. And look at the coalescence of rainfall by tomorrow morning as far north and east as about Quincy and Hannibal, Missouri, down to St. Louis, and a pretty wide and expansive area. Welcome, much needed. Yes, the feedlots will get muddy. Yes, there'll be some chill stress on livestock, but meaningful rainfall for some of those far southern winter wheat fields back in through New Mexico. The snow levels are relatively high, 8,000 feet. So maybe the foothills get a little mixture of moisture in through Colorado livestock operators. And look at the next system moving ashore across the Pacific West down into California, taking the beeline in that atmospheric river onto the southern plains. And that will be lifting to the north and northeast. That's probably the weather system that gets going into early next week across the Corn Belt. But in the shorter sense of it, the next 36 hours, some welcome rains. Once again, kind of following in the same path that we saw recently. Southern Illinois, southern Missouri, central and southern Indiana, good part of the Buckeye State. So still some areas to the north that will get missed out, but there should be at least some moistening up of topsoil going forward over the next couple of days. And there's the Friday morning perspective across Nebraska, Kansas. Good coverage, solid coverages across Missouri, central and southern Illinois, Indiana, and points to the north and northeast, with a new weather system dropping into southern California there with rain from the LA Basin back into the San Joaquin and Imperial Valleys. The next 48 hours, next couple of days, some meaningful rainfall in some of those key dry, drought-ridden and dry soils, he tries to say, of Missouri, eastern Kansas, Oklahoma, and down through Texas, and no shortage of it coming back in to the Pacific West and Northwest. There will be the likelihood of a couple of stronger storms. Well, the storms have been doing this a long time. Amazing, you can come up with 1 to 2 inch hail balls in November in parts of the Corn Belt. Saw that yesterday, and a couple of stronger storms may come to fruition into the Ozarks and back into sections of Oklahoma and Texas. A little quick plot of some of the severe weather. Those were hail reports that came out of East Central Illinois, Moultrie County, Charleston, Mattoon, Effingham, Coles, Edgar counties had some of that severe stuff as well, south of Champaign, and some quick 1 to 2 inch downpours yesterday afternoon. And there was snow too yesterday, 1 inch to 3 inches of slushy, mushy accumulation around, let's see, that would be Austin, Albert Lee, Minnesota, across central Wisconsin, the Kickapoo, or a little south of there into central Michigan. A lot of snow cover beginning to build through parts of southeastern Canada, St. Lawrence River Valley, and you can see up across the westernmost areas of the prairie provinces of Canada finally beginning to get some snow on the ground. So going forward, we've got rain and shower activity over the southwest coming into an end temporarily tomorrow, but not before bringing a wide swath of some probably 1 to 3, a little overdone, but probably half to 1. And there'll be another one to follow into the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. There is that second storm system in the Pacific West and southwestern states for the second half of this week. That system will again move into the southern plains and up across the Ohio Valley, roughly between about I-70 and I-80, the main significant corridor of rainfall going forward with that late week weather system. Temperatures, not bad under the cloud cover. They're not really going anywhere. You get these short, what we call diurnal swings of temperatures. I think readings just climbed maybe 4 or 5 degrees into parts of Illinois and Indiana yesterday. They'll do the same today. Again, low sun angle, thick stratus clouds. You don't get any insulation in. But where you do get some insulation away from that low stratus stuff, 50s and low 60s across the northern and central plains. The mild weather continues down through the southeastern states for the foreseeable future. A little return of some sunshine and a passage of a warm front should pop readings into the 50s into the southern Great Lakes region for the end portion of the week. Then early next week, temperatures are relatively close to, if not a hair above seasonal norms, in the upper 40s and 50s across the middle part of the country. Nighttime lows as well. We'll just kind of quickly move through these because there's no real cold air in sight through the rest of the week, end of the weekend, early next week as well. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, there's that weather system moving through California, southern plains beginning to minor out and lift out to the north and northeast. And by the time from Saturday to the panel in the bottom middle by Wednesday next week, you begin to see a movement on that fast northerly branch of the jet that's riding through the Canadian prairie. That system coming out of California gets timed with a wave or two in that northern branch of the jet, so you get phasing. And this is where the models struggle, and you have to be very cautious in how you deliver the cold air, at least your messaging of it. Yes, there's cold air in sight. Yes, it is on the move, but it doesn't necessarily come down all at once. It takes 2 or 3 passages of these waves sometimes to get these things to unload across the middle part of the country. Timing of that would be in the plains back into the holiday weekend next week and then into the early days of December. But just to return to maybe a little below average temperatures, that cold wave weather pattern is likely to stay locked in, or at least into the northern plains, high plains, southern Canadian prairie, the divide country going forward. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, systems make their move from the southern plains and the southwestern states across the Corn Belt locales. And you can see that H as it builds out of Western Canada. That's the first little piece of cold air beginning to fill in into the northern plains and sections of the northern Rockies at some point between Wednesday and Thanksgiving Day, Thursday of next week. So bodily not coming south. You don't get this fast jet stream in from the north to northwest. Little ripples, you lay out the cold air, a little ripple, you lay out the cold air. That's the way you do this kind of particular setup going forward here in the next probably 10 days to 2 weeks. Significant rain, as we talked about, the southern plains. There are the totals. That looks realistic the next 5 to 7 days. And you can see the cutoff is pretty sharp, just about I-80 on northward. Not much to speak of, but at least there's a quarter to half inch and maybe outlier inch totals into some of the worst drought areas of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. There they are on late last week's drought monitor, and they're a little close up through east central Illinois, parts of Indiana and Ohio. Those folks, you folks, ought to come up with maybe close to an inch of rain out of 2 passages of weather systems moving through over the next 3 to 5 days. There are the steering currents up a lot for the next 6 to 10 days, and you can see a little buckling. The trough, if you will, is just beginning to evolve into the northern plains and east of the divide. It's not a full body push of Arctic air in from the northwest to the southeast. It kind of makes its way, digs a little piece in, digs a little piece in. So you're kind of laying out a little trough. The problem is this is a signature of a more active weather pattern. And if you get into pieces of cold air, then you get that snow stuff. But, you know, by then it's December. Rumor has it snows in the plains and Midwest in December. Not quite sure, but it does. Anyway, next 6 to 10 days of cold air is really going to backbuild from the divide country of Montana into the Pacific Northwest initially. And the moisture is pretty significant as well. That's snow in Montana livestock managers, bin and barn operators. If you're not prepared, get prepared. It will be a cold and snowy some portion of the Thanksgiving holiday there. Western Dakotas down through Wyoming, Nebraska, Panhandle. And then some welcome rain into the southern plain states areas. And if you want to move things out the next 2 weeks, the trough doesn't really dig northwest. It kind of bottoms out or tries to build its way into the high plains areas. The cold air is there. It's beginning to seep in from the southwest to northeast, and that's usually a thick cloud cover, a chilly spell of weather. You don't get much significant daytime. At the same time, nighttime drop in temperatures. A little overdone, but the right idea. The main mother lode of the Arctic air, cold air, is out through Montana, the western and northern high plains areas. A bit below average, maybe a little overdone into the western Corn Belt areas, but at least a return to more normal temperatures over the eastern sections of the Corn Belt. Folks, that is snow and rain, or rain changing to snow across the Dakotas, Montana, Wyoming, livestock managers, bin and barn operators. There's your second warning in advance, and that's into the early days of the month of December. So it's probably not before the 5th to maybe 7th of December, Sarah, before you and we've already had kind of a freakish snow already back a couple of weeks ago, get into that nonsense. And there's our next live stream on the 17th, Wednesday, where we'll just kind of look at the monthly outlook, the seasonal outlook, and then probably maybe a couple of thoughts on springtime as well. We'll begin to pencil those things in. So that's a check on the weather from the weather office. Yes, winter's coming. It snows in December. That's all I got for you. It does. It's cold.
There's a headline, right? It snows in
really.
December,
I know people like that social media, and I take a look around at it once in a while. But just be careful and cautious on just taking a model panel that someone may verbatim throw out there and say, here's the forecast, because it will change. And these systems are a little trickier. The models, no matter what the advances are, the weather is fluid. It's constantly changing. You're trying to take a snapshot of something that you can't take a snapshot of and then model it out 10 to 15 days. So it will be a process again of A, drought relief, and B, getting wintertime. It's on the move. It's coming December, but it will take some time to get from the plains into the Corn Belt locales in our part of the Midwest. But probably first and foremost, those livestock guys got to be ready. Montana, Wyoming, the Dakotas, Nebraska, that stuff is coming for Thanksgiving.
Of course, that's why we check in with you on a regular basis, right? Because we know it changes, and we know, we need to know what's ahead. So we appreciate your insight.
You're so brilliant, Sarah. I'm glad you're anchoring from that side of the office. Leave me in charge, be chaos. So there you go.
Oh, you're in charge of the weather. I just in charge of the technology here.
I only forecast it. I don't make it. Let's take those.
There you go.
Out of position. So that's it for a Wednesday.
All right. We'll be checking in with you in a few days. Appreciate it. Thank you, Greg. And thank you all for tuning in as well.